Hangul, the native writing system for the Korean language, isn't hard to learn. In fact, it's specifically designed to be simple and accessible. That being said, a common complaint from a lot of Korean learners, non-native speakers, is that their handwriting isn't so great. Have you ever shown your Hangul handwriting to a native Korean speaker and had them ask you when you're graduating from kindergarten? There are a few little hacks you can use to make your handwriting look a lot more like a native speaker's, and we're going to jump into those today. Let's get started. 안녕하세요. 한국어 패치의 이한입니다. Well, if it isn't the foreigner with the foreign handwriting. Just kidding. Well, not really. We're going to put in some work today and we're going to get you a bit more confidence with your Hangul handwriting. I'm going to hook you up with 3 juicy secrets in this video to help make your Hangul handwriting look more natural when you're, filling out forms or something. It's 2022, almost 2023. We don't write by hand that much anymore. All right, so before we get too specific and jump right into the 3 big tips, let's set the scene. In general, I think that the main reason that non-native speakers' handwriting doesn't look quite the same as native speakers' handwriting is actually one really simple principle. Cursive. That's right, people born in the 90s or before. Is your hand starting to cramp just thinking about those writing exercises again? The good news is, in the same way that many of us use this sort of half cursive, half not cursive writing style when we use the Western alphabet, so too do Koreans go a little buck wild when they're putting pen to paper. So for the purposes of this video, the features of a cursive writing style that I'm specifically focused on are 1. Simplified or reduced strokes of characters, and 2. No lift writing, where you have this usually lighter connective line between normally separate characters. In this video though, we're gonna focus specifically on the first one, simplified versions of the characters. Okay, let's get into the good stuff now. Okay, I'm gonna be over here for this part of the video since I have the tablet today. So the first tip I want to give you about a character that you can simplify when you're writing Hangul is the character dir. Now normally dir is 3 strokes like this, right? It's 1, 2, and 3. Some people when they're writing quickly might write dir like this, right? One kind of mazy sort of character. But the way that I want to show you how to write this, the way that native speakers often write this character, in shorthand, or just whenever they're writing down notes for themselves, is actually just like this. Something that's kind of like a Z, or a 2, or a backwards S, or a snake. I don't know, whatever helps you remember it. But if you want to write something like 라면, you could write it something like that. The very first character looks a little bit more like this. So instead of doing 3 different strokes or 1 stroke with the corners, just doing a quick zip zap zoop is a much more natural way of writing these characters. The second and third characters that I want to talk about in this little tips section of the video are jiet and chiet. Now, a lot of people write jiet as 2 strokes. They'll draw a kiok and then they'll add a second little stroke on the bottom. Some people, crazy people, might write jiet like this, 3 strokes. That's wild. You should not be doing that. The way that a lot of native speakers write jiet is actually as 1 simple stroke. They'll do a kiok and a little rainbow. So you might get something that's like ta, something like that, ta. The same basic principle goes for chiet as well. So normally chiet is 1, 2, 3 different strokes. Some people might write chiet like this, but that is weird. I've never done that. I mean, I guess you can. It's not like against the rules or anything. But you'll see a lot of people write chiet like this. 1 big stroke. You'll get like 1, maybe 2. I like to do it as 2. That's how I usually write this character. I always give it a distinctive smaller stroke at the top, and then I'll give it one of these at the bottom, so you can get something like ta for some yummy tea. The third tip I want to share with you is tougher to recreate. It kind of like just happens when you're writing, and I'm finding it kind of difficult for me to like do it right in isolation. So the tip that I want to share with you is regarding vowel characters now. Boom. They're usually 2 strokes. Most of them are 2 strokes, at least the ones we're going to talk about today. They have a major and a minor stroke. And I'm going to focus on just 2 of them today to give you an example of what this looks like. But it applies to all of the vowel characters that have 2 strokes, the same basic principle. So let me explain it to you and then I'll show it to you. The basic principle that goes into simplifying the vowel characters is maintaining the order of the strokes, but not completing the major stroke. So what that looks like, instead of doing something like this, oo, or something like this, o, where you have, both of those strokes there, oo ends up just looking like this. And o ends up just looking like this. Yeah, oo kind of looks like a kiok, and o kind of looks like a dian, right? But don't worry, you're not going to get super confused by this because they'll be happening in context. So I wanted to give you one example though, like the way that Nanju usually writes her name. We're going to be looking at some examples from some of our friends, some of their handwriting here in a minute, but just my recreation of how Nanju tends to write her name is something like this, like that. So the oo ends up just being kind of a representation of what the strokes would be. Instead of, see, I'm doing it right away. Anyway, instead of doing it like this, she just kind of gives it a little, hey, by the way, that's an oo. So just for a quick refresher of the 3 tips, we can simplify diel to look like this. And we can simplify tiet and tiet to look like this or this. And we can also simplify our vowels to go from something like this to something like this. Now that you know a little bit more about how real Korean handwriting looks out in the real world, I figured the best thing for us to do would be to look at some real world examples from real world people who speak real world Korean and write real world Korean as well. I asked a couple of friends of mine, friends of the channel, who you may remember from some of the comprehensible input vlogs, Sura and Jian, this time, Tabin's sick, she couldn't make it, to join Nanju and give me some writing examples that we could look at together. So I asked them all to write the same thing, and I figured we could just take a quick look at how they write and see if we can notice any of these changes in their handwriting as well. So the very first writing sample we have here is from Nanju. What she wrote was 한국어 패치, the word 라면, because I needed a word that started with 리 or had like a 나 in it, so we went with 라면. And finally, 안녕, 난 난주야, 반가워. So if we take a look right here, we can see a couple extra features that we didn't talk about, like the kind of breakdown of the block characters and what to do with multiple stroke vowels here. But here's a great example of her doing what I just talked to you about with the tiet part of the tiet character. See how it's all one stroke here, just like that. Same with the 라면. You can see the 리 that I was talking about, a connection to the and the just being 2 strokes, just like that. You can also see it, let's see, down here in the 주 of Nanju. Here, it's just 1 stroke right there. So the next example here is from Sura, and I can see right away 3 examples of what we talked about in our video. So both of her 리을's in 라면 and in her name, Sura, both have that single stroke kind of number 2 or that sort of curvy pattern. And also what she did with her tiet here up at the top being a single stroke. Actually, the whole thing looks like it's 1 stroke. There's a little bit of connection there. She did something else interesting here that I'll talk about in another handwriting video if we end up doing more of these. But it's right here with the piep, something that is kind of interesting, and you'll actually see it in some Korean fonts as well. Unfortunately, I can't show you the third example that I collected for you guys because I'm having a little bit of a tech issue with Jian's writing, but we'll get her in on the next one. So this has been a kind of easy mode, level 1, introductory 101, video about how to make your handwriting look more like a native speaker's when writing in Hangul. I hope this was helpful for you. If you're interested in this kind of handwriting content or more little tips like this to help make your Korean more authentic, seem more like a native speaker's on your journey to becoming one, I'd be happy to make that kind of content. So just let me know by leaving a comment down below, and I'll do my absolute best to get back to you in a timely fashion. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hello, it's me again. If you're into things like handwriting, hanja, saturi, and all the other parts of Korean that go into making you a really authentic speaker of the language, you're in the right place. I'm working on books, courses, and other materials for Korean learners just like you. Right now, I have 2 free ebooks available over at my website, and all you have to do to download them is join my mailing list, where you can also get all the latest updates on the other projects that I'm working on. The first project I'm going to be releasing is called Saturi Pechi. It's a book and video course and other stuff, all about how to understand the Busan dialect, or the Gyeongsangdo dialect, of Korean. I'm expecting to have that come out early 2023. Anyway, you can get access to all of this stuff, all the latest updates, keep in touch with what I'm working on and all that kind of stuff over at my website, koreanpatch.co. Just sign up for a mailing list account and the rest is all pretty easy. That's all I gotta say. Bye for real this time.